Okay, so I just want to take a minute and review the third-party comparison chart and other provincial benefits chart. Now you won't have access to this answer key as of yet because I'm recording this prior to releasing this to you, as the due date hasn't passed yet for some students to submit these completed charts. So don't be too frustrated with me when you see what I have posted here. These charts, as I said, they are the completed version. Just want to shrink up my screen here a little bit so it's not quite so full. Oops, can't shrink it, center it. Okay, so again, don't be too frustrated that now I'm giving you the answer key for all of your hard work, and I know that poking around some of these websites, looking at these third-party plans, it can be extremely challenging to source out the information and make sense of what it is that we see, and try to define just exactly what it is that we're looking for. But that's part of the beauty, if you will, of going into these websites and looking around, trying to find the information. Finding the information is as valuable as knowing how to find the information. So that is kind of the point behind this, is just getting into these websites, especially these federal websites. They can be very complicated. There's a lot of information in there. Just simply navigating through these can be extremely frustrating. But as long as you've got in there and had a look around and could populate your chart as best as you possibly could, that's really what I was looking for. So I'm not going to click on any of these links. I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the information that is available on the chart, and what I've placed on the chart. I really did try to streamline the information so that there wasn't a lot of complicated information. I know that some folks who have completed their chart already and have submitted it, I know that you are quite detailed, and it could be detailed in your own writing, or it could have been that you simply copied and pasted from the website. But again, what I've populated here, I tried to really streamline it so that there wasn't too much information and that it was fairly readable for you. So as far as our RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, no, there is no searchable benefit for these folks. So we just kind of assume, we never want to assume too much, but our RCMP folks will have prescription drugs and some OTCs covered. I'm not going to go through these columns here. I think that you can work through and compare what I've provided to you for who is eligible for benefits. Compare what I've put in the file compared to what you have, and then if you wish to streamline what you've created, please go ahead and do so. Again, I just tried to keep it kind of streamlined. There is no LCA required. Now, one thing that I will mention as I work through the information that's in this chart, when we look at, is dispensing an LCA required? So most of these plans do indicate that an LCA is required. And you will find in practice, most third-party plans, benefit plans, do in fact require an LCA. When we're looking at this chart, so for our purposes at RDC, we have determined there's a handful of these particular plans that don't require an LCA. And we've done that for our own purposes. When we get into dispensing lab, whether that's first year or second year, we've kind of hand selected a few of them that we will say within our dispensing lab do not require an LCA. And that is simply because sometimes we don't have access to that LCA product. So we've identified our RCMP folks as not needing an LCA. And then down we get to the bottom, our group or employer plans. We've identified that our Blue Cross employer plan. So again, we've kind of just sort of determined what these benefits are for these group plans. When you get out into practice, when it comes to an employer plan or a group plan, these benefits can go any which way, and it is negotiated between the plan administrator and then human resources. They kind of work through that contract and decide what the benefits will be. And there are multitudes of variations of this. There would be no way for us to specify to you as students for employer plans the actual parameters that exist. Each and every company that provides benefits to their employees will have a specific plan tailored to them. So what we've done is we've determined what those are, and we've tailored these employer plans for ourselves kind of within our own pharmacy space at RDC. So by no means what you see here for these group plans will be reflective of what you would see officially out in practice. Again, we've just specified what they are so that we all have something to work with, and we bind by these particular parameters that are here. So for our Blue Cross employer plan, there is that searchable benefit list, and you could click this link and it would take you to those price files. Make sure that you would be using the most current PDF version. As far as the co-pays, again, these wouldn't have been provided to you. You wouldn't have been able to populate this, but you can do so now as I've provided this information to you. So the co-pays for these first 3 plans, we've determined that all of them will have a 20% copay, and then our Green Shield folks, they're going to have a $5 copay. All of the pricing and dispensing fees are consistent. You'll see that was pre-populated for you. And then for these group plans, our Blue Cross plan that we kind of have determined for RDC use, they do not require an LCA, and our Green Shield folks as well do not require an LCA. Again, these are specific to our use and tailored for us in our space, not reflective of what you would see in practice. So you can take this for yourself and just kind of move it forward, or you can populate your own chart with this information that is here. It might be valuable to do that. When you get into dispensing lab, you won't want to be referencing this chart too frequently. You want to have this information come to you pretty naturally. So I think taking the time to populate this information will assist you in being fluid when you're dispensing prescriptions in our dispensing lab. So then I'll go back up to the top. So again, being able to identify the difference between our federal plans and our provincial plans. Now, sometimes we will have patients who might be an RCMP member and maybe they have non-group coverage for whatever reason. We might have a Veteran Affairs patient who, same sort of thing, they may have non-group coverage. Or they might be a Veteran Affairs client and they might be a senior citizen, so they would have those benefit coverages. They might be a Veteran Affairs client who is a senior citizen who maybe hasn't fully retired, so maybe they are still a school teacher, so they could potentially have all 3 of these plans. So there's lots of variations that come into play. When it comes to billing these types of plans, we would go federal plan first, then we would go provincial plan. If there was a benefit plan provided by their employer, then that falls into the sequence as well. Typically, it becomes I have to think this through now. If they have group benefits through their employer, then typically that goes first, then followed by the federal plan and the provincial plan. So yes, we have lots of variations that come into play. The key things that I want you to recognize, again, are I need you to be aware of who is eligible for all of these plans. These will be excellent exam questions, so make sure you know who is eligible for those benefits, knowing whether or not there is a searchable benefit list and what that benefit list is, if one does exist. If there's any copay for that particular client. So if you look, if you kind of look at this chart globally and what I'm providing to you, Really the ones that you need to pay attention to are just the ones that do have a copay. So specifically, this is going to be information you're going to want to place in your memory bank. So when it comes to our provincial plan for our Blue Cross folks, our coverage for seniors, and our Group 1, the copay is exactly the same for all of them. They're going to have a 30% copay to a maximum of $25. So that means if a prescription cost is $200, then 30% of $200, maybe I should grab, I don't know if I have time to grab my, my whiteboard, but I'm just going to do some quick kind of math here on my own calculator. Maybe I can get a calculator up. Let's have a look. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Calculator, right there. So if a prescription was to cost, move that into the center so you can see that, the total price of a prescription would be $200 times 30%. That works out to be $60. That would be the 30% copay. But for these customers that fall under our Blue Cross government-sponsored provincial plan, they wouldn't pay this total of $60. They would pay a total of $25. So whatever the copay is, first we calculate that 30%. If it's in excess of $25, then it kind of defaults back down to $25, and that's the maximum that those particular clients would have to pay. So really, when you look at this chart, when it's complete, then there's a lot of information in there, but just kind of recognizing the consistencies or similar things between particular plans, that is going to serve you very well. Again, knowing who is eligible for these particular products, understanding what these standard group numbers are. This is information we use when we go to bill to this third-party plan. Knowing, again, what those benefit lists are, where you would search for this information. This is all going to become very important when you come into dispensing lab, because we don't have the online adjudication, and that's why this is so critical for us to have this reference chart. We don't have real-time adjudication. We can't do those claims adjudications with any of these third-party plans. We're in our simulated space, so we use this document to kind of support that and define what those copays are. When you're generating information in computer class, you'll be creating your own community of patients. As you create that community of patients, you will have some of your patients will be RCMP members, some of them will be Veteran Affairs, some of them will be First Nations, so on and so forth. And you will define all of that when you're working with that whole computer system and populating all of that information. So again, this is going to be a very valuable chart as you move forward through the program, through additional courses, like I said, especially computer class, and then certainly when you get into dispensing. So this is a completed chart. Don't be too frustrated with me that I'm just sharing this with you now. As I said, there is value in you working through these kinds of things on your own and being able to navigate through these websites. So I don't want this particular video to go over 15 minutes. It gets hard for me to share that with you. So I'm going to wrap this one up, and then I will start an additional video to discuss the other third-party plan or the other provincial benefits chart as well. So I'm going to pause this video now, and you will see a part 2 arrive shortly.